Hey everyone. So in the social sciences, we're always trying to study these huge, powerful, but kind of invisible ideas. Things like burnout or happiness or social status. But how in the world do you actually put a number on a feeling? How do you measure something you can't see or touch? Well, today we're going to dive into the tools that researchers use to do exactly that: scales and indexes. Think of this as your pregame warm-up, giving you the big picture and the why behind it all before you get into the nitty-gritty details.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to kick things off with the why, like why do we even need these things? Then we'll get into the what, breaking down the all-important difference between a scale and an index. After that, it's time to get our hands dirty with the how, where we'll actually build a scale from scratch. And finally, we'll wrap up with the so what. What does it all mean? And how can you use this new super tool in your own research?
All right, let's get right into it. Why go to all this trouble? Why can't we just ask somebody a simple question and call it a day?
Seriously, think about it for a second. If you wanted to measure burnout, you could just ask, right? Hey, on a scale 1 to 10, how burned out are you? But does that really capture the whole story? Is burnout just one thing?
No way. A concept like burnout has so many different layers. Researchers talk about personal burnout, work-related burnout, even burnout related to the clients you work with. A single number just can't possibly hold all that nuance. And that, right there, is the core problem we're trying to solve. To really study these big, complex social ideas, we need a much smarter yardstick than just one simple question.
So if one question isn't going to cut it, what's the alternative? And that brings us to the what of our explainer. Let's talk about the two main tools researchers use to crack this nut: scales and indexes.
First up, we've got the scale. Now, a scale is what we call a composite measure, which is really just a fancy way of saying we're combining a bunch of questions. But the key here is that it focuses on a single concept, and it's all about measuring its intensity. The analogy to a weight scale is perfect. You step on it, and the needle moves up or down to show more or less of just one thing: weight.
An index, on the other hand, is also a composite measure, but its job is to capture something much broader, something with multiple dimensions. The classic example is socioeconomic status, or SES. To build an SES index, you're not measuring one thing. You're combining different but related things like someone's income, their education level, and how prestigious their job is. They aren't all the same, but together they paint a much bigger picture.
So let's put them side by side. A scale is like a laser beam. It's super focused on the intensity of one thing, like burnout. An index is more like a floodlight. It's pulling in different dimensions to light up a broader concept, like socioeconomic status. People mix these terms up all the time, but understanding this little difference really sharpens your thinking.
All right, enough with the theory. It's time to see how this stuff actually works in the real world. Let's move on to the how and roll up our sleeves. We're going to build a scale, step by step, using actual data to try and measure the complex experience of marginalization. Okay, here's our raw material from the General Social Survey. We've got 5 questions about different experiences of discrimination, plus 1 about life satisfaction. Now, we can't just add these up. This is kind of a mess, and here's why. First, look at the values. A 1 means almost every day, and a 6 means never. The whole thing is backward. A high number actually means less marginalization. And second, that life now variable is on a totally different 0 to 10 scale. This data needs a serious cleanup before we can do anything with it.
So how do we fix this? We just need to follow 3 basic guidelines. Rule number 1, theory first. You have to ask yourself, do these questions even make sense together? You, the researcher, know what they mean. Remember, your computer is just a very powerful calculator. 2, you got to use the same units. If you're going to add them up, they all need to be on the same scale, otherwise it's not a fair comparison. And 3, create what we call a true zero. Basically, we want 0 to mean never or none. It just makes interpreting your results way, way easier down the road.
And check this out. This is the result of our data cleanup. We flipped all those variables around, so now 0 means never and 5 means almost every day. Perfect. A higher score now correctly means more marginalization. And we even wrangled that tricky 0 to 10 life now variable into our new consistent 0 to 5 scale. Now all our ingredients are prepped and ready to go.
But hold on. Before we start mixing everything together, there is one more super critical step. Just because we think these questions all belong together doesn't mean they actually do, statistically speaking. We have to test them to see if they're all consistently measuring the same underlying idea.
And for that, we use a test with a pretty great name: Cronbach's alpha. Now don't worry about the crazy math formula behind it. All you need to know is that it spits out a score between 0 and 1, and that score tells us how well our questions hang together. And the general rule of thumb in the social sciences is that we want to score above 0.70. That's usually considered acceptable.
So, we run our 6 clean variables through the test, and what do we get? A Cronbach's alpha of 0.75. Hey, that's pretty good. It's above our 0.70 threshold, so our scale is officially reliable. We could totally stop here and have a perfectly good, usable scale. But if you look closely, the data is giving us a little hint that we might be able to do even better.
The secret is hiding in that last column of the output table. It's basically a what-if game. It shows you what the alpha score would be if you dropped each item, one by one. And look at that last row for our life now variable. The table is telling us that our alpha would actually go up if we got rid of it. That's a huge statistical clue that maybe a person's general satisfaction with life isn't quite the same thing as their specific daily experiences of discrimination.
So the data is whispering to us. We've got an acceptable scale right now, but maybe not the best scale. The question is, should we listen? Can we actually do better?
Oh yeah, we absolutely can. After we remove that life and now variable and run the test again with just our 5 core discrimination items, our new Cronbach's alpha is 0.79. Now, this little change gave us 2 huge benefits. Not only did our reliability score jump up to a really strong 0.79, but look at the number of cases. Our sample size exploded from about 1,400 people to almost 2,700. By dropping that one variable that didn't quite fit, we ended up with a scale that is both more reliable and works for a much larger group of people. That is a massive win-win.
So, we did it. We took messy data, we cleaned it, we tested it, we refined it, and now we have a solid, reliable scale. Which brings us to our final and maybe most important section, the so what. Now that we've built this new super tool, what can we actually do with it?
Well, here's the payoff. You can now treat this scale you built as a single number. You can calculate an average marginalization score for your sample, you can compare scores between different groups, you can even plug it into a fancy regression model. Just remember a few rules. Always tell people the range of your scale. In our case, it's 0 to 25. And most importantly, stay humble. As the source material says so well, we are trying to measure the unmeasurable. This is an amazing tool, but it's a powerful approximation, not a perfect truth.
And this is what it all leads to. This histogram is a picture of our brand new marginalization scale. We have successfully taken a complicated, messy human experience and turned it into a single variable we can actually see and analyze. You can see the story in the data right away. Most people are clustered at the low end, reporting fewer experiences. But there's that long tail of folks who experience these things much, much more often.
So the big takeaway here is that with a little bit of theory, some careful data work, and the right tests, we can create tools to quantify even the most abstract concepts out there. From burnout to marginalization, this whole process gives us a new way to study the world. Which brings us to a final question for you to think about. What complex social idea would you try to measure?